Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. As you can see, I did not work on the router cabinet last night. I actually ended up going to game night. I wasn't going to go to game night because my car is being worked on, and I I don't know when I'm going to get it back. Right? We have M's car, but I don't drive M's car. Uh, so I could have taken the bike, but of course, going to game night last night, I took Ark Nova, and I don't really have a good way to pack that game because it's not a normal size game box. It doesn't fit any of my game bags. So I wasn't gonna go. I was gonna stay home and work on this. But my friend texted me and he's like, "You're coming tonight, right?" And I was like, "Well, no." Well, and he's like, "But I really want to play Ark Nova." And he's like, "How about I give you a ride?" And I was like, let me see if Em will drop me off, and then you can give me a ride home. So that's what we did. I ended up going. We played one game of Ark Nova, came back. That one game of Ark Nova was 4-player. We played with two of the players only played at one. Me, two players who'd played at one time, and then a new player. The new player is like next level, I guess. Like he's one of those gamers that just dominates, and so for him, like it was a 20-minute explanation. He was good to go, and he actually ended up winning the game. So if it hasn't been obvious, I've been playing a lot of Ark Nova. In fact, Ark Nova is all I've played for about 2 weeks now, and I really, really like the game. I posted about it on Twitter, and of course, so I got a response from somebody that said, big surprise, because I've been posting it a lot on Twitter, and I guess that's true. It is it has consumed me, but I don't think that's a bad thing. One, it's a great example of a game that doesn't really have anything unique. It's every mechanic has been borrowed from something else, but it is a game that takes all of those borrowed mechanics and uses them in new ways and really explores its depth, and it does it really, really well. And I think that's a great example. Like I think we're in the bloom of board gaming when the 90s happened and America discovered Euro games, and then the market here just exploded. I think our market exploding helped explode the rest of the world. I'm not going to say that's a fact, but I think that's what happened. I think that we helped push gaming out, right? And there's been a whole lot of innovation that's happened over those years because of vastly expanding markets. And I say that because in their 90s, when Settlers of Catan, which was really the first successful Euro game, came to America, suddenly the Germans had a few billion more people to sell to, right? And so publishing really started to explode, and that happened thanks to Magic the Gathering being here, and then these Euro games coming over and taking over. And so the early 2000s was the Wild West of board gaming, and there was just innovation all over the place, and that continued on into the tens, and then I would say in the past probably 10 years, there has not been as much innovation. And I don't mean that to say you haven't created a new game or this game does something really unique and special. I would say we've reached a point in gaming where the mechanics the mechanisms that make games work have been found. We now have this huge library of mechanisms, these huge library of scoring mechanisms, of action selection mechanics, of drawing, of how to play cards, of tessellations. We have. I don't want to say we have found them all, because that's obviously not true. There's going to be new mechanisms discovered, but we have slowed down, right? We have hit a point where the vast majority of games that come out have no unique mechanisms. They're just a combination of trusted models. And I view that as a good thing, right? I view that as we have matured as as a consumer base. That means that we have reached this kind of, here's the tool set. We have defined the tool set, and now it's the designer's job to choose how to use those tools to make the best experience that they want to give to a new player. And whether that is, two-player abstract and, pieces on a, wooden pieces on a wooden board, or that is a deeply thematic storybook game with, dice and cards and miniatures and everything. Uh, it's now a matter of finding those elements. And I've been trying to find those elements since the 2000s, well, since late 90s. I've been trying to figure out how to make my own games since then. And I've succeeded a few times. I think I have some games that I have succeeded at. I've been published and I've self-published, and people seem to enjoy the few games that I have put out there. I have found a small, target audience for those things. But I've tried my best to make games that work on a larger scale, and I've failed at all of that. But the good news is, I have been working again on both the train game and the Viking game. I have a new version of the train game to test. I just need to modify the board a little bit. That one is, I think, pretty easy to test just with the components that I already have. I don't need to do a whole bunch of stuff. The Viking game, however, is basically a completely new game, which is probably the 20th or maybe 30th iteration of that game, and that's not a joke. Like, I've been working on that game since the 90s, or a version. I've been working on some version of that game since the 90s. So it's probably like 30 or 40 different iterations now. And so the new version takes the experience that I built, that I pitched at Gen Con last year, that got rejected. That experience was good, but the scope of the game, the game length was outrageous, and there was no real... some of the feedback that I got was that there's not really any understanding of how the various resources affect gameplay. And the simple answer is because they didn't. Like, there was no inherent thing to do with any one resource. It just came down to, if you took this card, then wheat and leather were important to you in that moment, and you needed wheat and leather. So getting a wheat generator was only good for that particular moment in time, and maybe in later turns you're trying to get other things, and suddenly this wheat is useless to you. And so there was no inherent value. So I think I figured out a way to take all of that and just compress it into a much tighter package with maybe less options, meaning that you don't have the ability to do this or this or this or this or this or this, and now it's just you have this, 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 and this. But I think that means a much broader appeal and a much more fluid understanding of how the resources tie into the gameplay. So that one is not ready to be tested. I've been working on my computer because I need to completely redesign the map, completely redesign all of the cards, completely just almost scrap everything and start over. Not quite. But I'm also searching for a new theme for that one. I think I want to get away from the Viking theme completely because it is restrictive. I think I mentioned that in early videos. But I haven't found that theme yet. It is a sort of city building game. So I've been looking for other building things, whether it's, mitochondria or, whatever. I've been trying to figure out if there's a theme that could fit it well, and I haven't quite found that yet, other than city builder, which I'm fine with. If it turns out that it's just generic settlement builder, I'm okay with that. Like, that's fine. That's what it was intended to be from the beginning. It was intended to be my city builder. But I would like to find a unique thing to fit it, and then design mechanics around that. So anyway, the point of all this is, Ark Nova has taken up 2 weeks of my life. We've been playing it. I've been playing it nearly every day for the last 2 weeks. I really love it. I really think it's a great game, and I do have additional thoughts on it, which I think I will save for next week. We'll do like a follow-up review, but I can still 100% recommend it. And thanks to Ark Nova, think I have figured out a few ways to make the Viking game tighter and better. And, you know, that all comes from, oh, I like the way Ark Nova does this. Maybe I should try that. And I think that's okay. I think that having those tools common between games not only makes the game more approachable for new players, but it's also building on a stout foundation as opposed to something that's rickety and not quite understood. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it does. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is laudable. It is an adjective meaning commendable, deserving of praise. Rebecca's decision to tell her mother that she lost her emerald brooch she borrowed without permission was laudable. 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 Do you ever borrow your mother's emerald brooch? Laudable is a good word. I see that one fairly frequently.